Hello, I'm Tootight Lautrec, and welcome back to Glitterature Alley, and thank you for tuning in to my worldwide reading tour, where I'll be reading a selection from my book of short stories, Great Escapes from Detroit by Joseph O'Malley, which is now available on ebook. If you so desire, you can follow the link in the description box. And I'll be reading the third story from the collection called The Collector. And instead of starting at the beginning, I thought I'd start a little ways into the story so that we can get more to the heart of what is really going on in this story. It takes place in Detroit during a hot, humid summer, and there's a young boy who's a teenager. He's 16 or 17 years old, and his name is Thomas Keene, and he has a genius sister who's off at math camp, and he collects bottles and cans to fund his parents' bookmobile that they drive down into the project so that people who aren't able to have books otherwise are able to have a free library. And so at one point he takes the bottles in to cash them in for the money to fund the bookmobile, and his friend Denis is there, who he's more of Janie's friend, his sister's friend, and Denis invites Thomas over for a swim after. And this is the point after that invitation. Thomas goes home to his mobile home and gets ready. Dusk came late, and in the last few hours of sun, the gray fluff of dandelion gone to seed floated everywhere. Neither Mom nor Dad had yet come home, and Janie wouldn't be back from math camp for a few more days. I pushed a chair against the bedroom door, reached under my mattress for the magazines I had fished from the dumpster behind Expressions during lapses in judgment earlier in the summer, and spread them flat on the only desk in the room. I propped my oversized Art of the Western World upside down with the pages spread away from me, so that if an intruder entered too rapidly, I only had to push the magazines forward to make the art book tumble down, face up over the skin mags. I pulled my chair as close as it would go to the desk, turned pages with my left hand, and reached beneath the desk with my right. I dawdled and played, trying to make it last by concentrating on the pictures of naked women, hoping to retrain my brain to normal. I kept only Penthouse, which always had a spread of a couple in different scenarios. At the sight of the horny Robin Hood ravaging Maid Marian, or the athlete in white socks surprised naked by a cheerleader, I forgot to look at the women, and forgot about any desire to be normal. The awareness that I had once again failed to master my lusts increased the titillation. This time, the inevitable but ever-surprising shudder and squirt arrived before I had finished my third pass through the spread. I cleaned up using the wad of toilet paper I'd had the foresight to gather into my fist beforehand. And then came remorse. Sleepy, disgusted with my weakness, I fought the urge to doze, pushed away from the desk, and looked around the room. This time I would succeed in ridding my life of the dross that clouded my mind and obscured my focus. I regretted the time I'd lost indulging my lusts that could have been better spent reading or drawing. I had to pay. Although chastity is the virtue that counters lust, you can't do chastity after having just masturbated. Charity, however, is a concrete act. Discarding favored possessions felt like a just penance to remind myself to be a better person. Whatever I wanted to keep most should be the first to go. I had failed over and over, but this time I found the strength to throw the magazines away. I prepared one pile with the magazines for the trash, another pile for clothes and other stuff for the Salvation Army. I'd circled around my Rubik's Cube on my most recent purges, knowing I'd have to get rid of it someday, but hadn't yet found the strength. In its absence, I'd forced myself to learn a new skill, or French. I grabbed the blue velvet Crown Royal sack, filled with colored stones that I'd collected and polished, a little mirror framed with coiled copper that Janie had made for me, a medal I'd won for a spelling bee, and a 10-year-old strawberry candle that still smelled good, which Sister Jacqueline had given me when I was her pet. Typically, I worked these purges as quickly as possible, to leave no time for doubt or regret. I swept up my possessions in one movement, then tore away breathless on my bike. I threw the magazines into one of the many dumpsters that lined the entrance to Beau Rouge, choosing these bins for their peculiar filth as a disincentive to keep me from fishing them out again later, as I'd done occasionally in the past. Beyond the mile or so of gas stations, fast food drive-thrus, and auto repair shops, I dumped my favorite things into a covered Salvation Army donation bin, then rode away and tried to feel free. Once I'd gotten good at purging, I had occasional difficulty remembering what I'd thrown away. Other times, sadness came like a storm, sometimes immediately, sometimes late at night as I lay in bed. It was part of the whole experience. Discarding aspects of the material world to which one has become unduly attached was the point. The more I did it, the better I got at it, and, as with other purges, I had faith the quiet riot of my sadness would eventually abate. Well, that's the central part of the story The Collector in the short story collection Great Escapes from Detroit by Joseph O'Malley. And you can follow the links below for the website to either buy it on Amazon or buy the ebook, which apparently if you're a Kindle super user or something like that, you can read it for free. So hide thee hither to the description box and keep yourself safe, and remember that the world is full of wonder and it's all there for you, right in front of you. All you have to do is pay attention. I'm Tootight Lautrec. Mwah.